Incredible greetings, incredible morning if you are on the West Coast on this good old second day of February, second day of Black History Month, second day of Love Month, because this is a month that Valentine's Day resides in. So incredible greetings, however you decide to kind of view this month. How y'all doing? I am Shakia, the professor of HSINK365. And today we are going to dive a little bit into some designing tips and things like that you probably didn't know when it comes to creating effective graphics, whether it is for a customer, for a custom design that you're doing for a t-shirt, a tumbler, a poster, a mug, a graduation stole, a graduation sign, anything like that, as well as when you're doing advertising and you're creating your promo stuff for your brand, your company, or even if you are creating thumbnails on your website. These are some things like if you're using objects, just how to make them pop and how to make them kind of stand out. Yo, no, I am a silhouette girl all day, every day. I use Silhouette Studio like any other graphic designing software. It does have its kinks and its bugs, and sometimes it can drive us absolutely bonkers, especially when it shuts down. But when it's working, for someone that is a beginner, it really is an effective graphic designing software. Okay, so that we're going to look a little bit into Silhouette Studio as well as Photoshop. Now, if you don't, or if you follow me, you haven't seen it, because sometimes they like to play with the distribution. I posted a picture earlier of an advertisement that was on a YouTube video, and it was, I don't know if I can say it over on TT, but it was of the shoe brand NIKE. And I was looking at it and I realized a lot of their advertisement is that way, to where, like, even if it's like a lifestyle shot or an action shot, you'll see the words behind them. Like, so it's they've created different layers and stuff. And so the image kind of goes over the words. And I realized that a lot of my designs kind of like, I kind of put that in there somewhere, so where I like to overlap things instead of just kind of having them stack where everything stands on their own. I'll do that sometimes, but I really like a good overlap. And then looking at their font choices, right? That is a signature font. Like all of their advertisement promos, like things you see, the majority of them have that exact same font. So that's just brand identity. I'm kind of that way with the one that I use for my brand, which is Lemon Milk. I love that one. And then there are some other like accent ones that I use. So because I'm just always a student and a lover of design, I'm always picking out little things like that. And although I know how to do this and I've done it before, when I see things that inspire me or it just catches my attention, as a designer, I usually try to recreate it in some way, form, or fashion. Like, especially if I haven't done it for a while, although I've kind of done that one very recently. If I haven't done it for a while, I will try to recreate it. So I posted that this morning, and I saw that while I was getting my Wawas, I was actually waiting for them to finish my stuff, and I was looking at that. So as soon as I got to the office, I ended up creating a version of that. And so I'm going to share that with you guys on how to create it and kind of break down a little bit of why you would do certain things when it comes to shadows. And to point out the fact there's a very big difference, like in in Photoshop, there's a thing called drop shadows. You have shadows in Silhouette Studio as well. The difference in the one in Silhouette Studio is there is no blur function in Silhouette Studio. So you're going to end up with harsh edges, and you're going to have what's called a vector drop shadow, where it's just going to be a solid path. The only thing that makes it a shadow is the opacity is down. So it doesn't, it's like, how can I say it? It's not the exact size of your image. It is actually a little bit smaller so that that shadow kind of goes to one side, depending on where the light is hitting it. I am one where I'm also a photog enthusiast, and so I watch a lot of content. I've taken some like little sessions here and there. I love to try and shoot in manual mode versus automatic. Like I took some sessions and paid for some sessions, but I also like just played around with my camera because I have control issues. So I like shooting in manual where I can control everything. So one of the things that I do when it comes to taking pictures is I will take pictures from a lot of different angles, especially outside. I live in sunny South Florida. So we have a lot of, you get a lot of shadows and harsh shadows because of how the sun just hits here. So oftentimes I will take an object and I will place it like in different positions, especially outside, and kind of have it face north, east, south, west, northeast, like, just in different positions, and take pictures of the same exact object because I want to see and analyze where those shadows go. I've even done that to where I will do it like either in the morning, I'll take those same pictures once the sun has moved and do it again and compare them. So I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to those things. I really love just looking at the composition of things and trying to figure things out. So when you're designing, I think that's what helps make me a pretty decent designer, is because I'm creating those things in real life, right? So I'm seeing the shadows. So when I go to create a design, I can visualize and know, okay, if I want this look, and if let's say I have it, now my light source is coming from this side, how should my shadow look? Where is it going to be shadows? Where is it going to be highlights and things like that? And that just comes from taking pictures. When I take pictures of just my products, when I've created something, I take pictures from different angles because you're just going to get different lights. You're going to get different shadows. I mean, just having those angles are great. So I'll take a picture from up above, right in front, to the right, to the left, coming downward. And I'll do the same thing when I'm trying to capture shadows to truly understand how shadows work and how to design them in a program like Photoshop so it looks realistic and it doesn't look like you just threw something on there. We want it to look as realistic as possible. That also helps when you are drawing. Let's say if you're drawing a face and you'll see certain artwork and they'll shade in certain parts. Also with makeup artists, when they contour, they put highlights. They're doing contours where it will be like dark parts of your face where the light doesn't necessarily hit. And your highlights are going to be where the light hits. So they make that brighter. That's why you kind of, see makeup artists talk about highlights and contouring, which is more so just shadowing. And that plays a part in graphic designing as well. So that's what we're going to take a look at is shadowing. Right? If you haven't seen that post, go check it out. Although you're going to see that exact image in this video as well. If you have gotten this far and you are interested, if you have not hit the like button or the thumbs up button, if you're watching the replay of this, make sure that you guys go ahead and smash it if you plan to watch the rest of this video. And if you haven't subscribed, if I haven't convinced you yet, maybe by the end of this, you would choose to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the bell so that you are notified whenever I release content or go live. All right, so someone says makes sense. Yes. There's with you saying that, like a lot of, how can I say it? When I start my foundation of designing one, you guys are going to have a lesson where you're going to take an object and you're going to do that very thing where I'm going to ask you as part of your homework is to take something, even if it's just an apple, And I want you to take time to go outside. Might be hot. If you have enough light in your room, or you can even recreate it with like a ring light or something like that, but you're going to have to move your ring light around a lot because it's about the light source. But that's going to be one of the homework assignments, is to take one object and take a bunch. You're probably going to be in excess of about somewhere between 30 and 50 pictures probably. Maybe you can get it done in about 20 pictures, but I really want you to take as many pictures as possible so that you really can analyze and understand where those shadows are. So we have a day where we're going to have a couple of days where we're going to like really dive into shadows. If you are interested in taking your design game up a notch, consider clicking on any of the links that's in the description or going straight to our website to find out more information about our Photoshop Essentials, our Foundation of Designing, which will include lessons from Silhouette Studio and Photoshop and a little bit of Illustrator. Not very much, but there are certain things that, it's like I like to do in Illustrator. And then if you want to get the administrative and logistics side of your business under wraps, consider joining the Professor's Creative Business Program. And last but not least, we also have the Custom Apparel Roadmap. That is tomorrow, depending if you're watching this live. If you're watching the playback, you might be able to catch the next wave or just purchase the replay because it's taking place on February 3rd and March 3rd. And it is the Custom Apparel Roadmap. And we're going to go through like so many different ways that you can create and decorate custom apparel or garments. Okay. All right, so let's get into this. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Manual mode is the only way I shoot. Yes, I have control issues. So, I mean, automatic is cool, but when it changes, like waiting, like sometimes I don't like the adjustments, man. I love to shoot in manual mode. It took some learning. It definitely took some learning and getting used to, but I even shoot in manual mode on my phone. So for all of the Apple people out there, I am a Galaxy gal. So with the Samsung, I haven't checked my husband's phone, but I know like with my Samsung Galaxy phone, I'm able to go into pro mode and they have automatic, and I don't always like the color. So I go in manual and I'll adjust my ISO, your speed, which like kind of like your on a regular camera will be your aperture and things like that, your white balance. So you're going in there and you're adjusting that to get the right color. Sometimes I want to create this darker image and like darker shadows and stuff. So I'm going to adjust those settings so that it changes the way the light comes into the camera and I get a different effect. So Samsung for life. Hey, I'm telling y'all that pro mode, even if you're only able to get one just to take pictures, if you haven't like tried out the pro mode for a Samsung, try it out because it's boom.com. Okay. All right. If I can get you guys over here to just double tap the screen just a little bit. Can I get a couple double taps over here? All right. So let's go ahead and present screen. And then I need to turn you guys around. So you're going to get all up in my face and then I'm going to pull you back. Okay. It's just weird how my arm is. So I have to change this one. Oh gosh, sorry. Y'all gonna see all of my stuff on TikTok. All right. So let me turn this light off so it's not, blinding for you guys. Okay, there we go. So you guys can now see that. Let's see. Did I miss anything else over here? Okay, no, I didn't. So this is the snapshot of what I made the post about this morning, right? And if you didn't quite understand what I was pointing out, it was the fact that the words are behind it, so it overlaps. Like you can easily make this where the shoe was further down and the words stood on their own. But I love, like, this is truly a part of like my signature style. I had someone that came and I did it with a poster and she's like, oh, well, ask her, can she adjust this and change this and bring it? I'm like, that's my signature style. Like, that's how you know it's a Shakia original. There's always going to be one element that overlaps like that. So this just stuck out to me just because I absolutely love this style. And I am one where my go-to fonts are more so bold and like block type fonts. Like that's really my go-to. I do use some script fonts, and even with script fonts, I like more of a bolder one. Back in my event planning days, I didn't really care to do wedding invitations or party invitations where they wanted a softer look, right? I was great at doing them, but I had a certain type of look that I was going for. So I wasn't made for everyone, and I was okay with that. A lot of like the frilly or thin fonts that they want, I'm not in my zone for designing when it comes to that. So if that's what they're wanting, hey, I'm not the designer for you. Sometimes some people would just, okay, well, let me see what you come up with because I just love your style. And they will, I'll try to kind of somewhat squeeze it in there, but my natural design, the way I naturally design is more of like bolder things. And I really have to think, like I have to really put my thinking caps on when it comes to thinner fonts. And I want you guys to know that it is okay. If you have a certain style, you're going to find clients who like your style. And don't try to force yourself to create in a way that you're not comfortable with, because then you're never going to be satisfied with the design, and it's going to show when you design for your client. So especially if you're new, kind of get a certain style and stick with that for a while. And once you perfect that, you can start to kind of implement different styles here and there. And at some point, you'll probably find a happy medium between the two. All right, so this is what I showed you guys. I still end up sticking with this particular brand, and I did a search, and just the colors on here just stood out to me, right? So with this, right, how many of you guys, and I think how I'm going to pose this is going to give the answer away, but just looking at this, would you think, how many of you guys think that this was shot this way on a clean white background and that those shadows are natural? Just looking at it, right? When you were okay, no, you know what? Here's a better way of asking that question, right? When you take pictures, are you looking to get a perfect shot like this, where you don't want to edit? Like you're in your mind right now, do you think that when you take pictures or when you're seeing advertisement that they shot that and that's exactly like how they shot it, and what you see is exactly how they shot it? How many of you guys think that way when it comes to what you take and you're trying to get it on the first shot? You were zooming all the way in. You don't want any extras. Who shoots like that when they're taking product pictures? So over here, everyone says, nope, they don't think that, it's shot that way. Everything is edited. This is very much so true. Everything is edited. So although this particular picture would naturally have some type of shadowing to it, it's not going to always be ideal, and it may not come off exactly how you want it. Even if you take it on like a solid white background and you have lighting, when you have to make edits, you have to remember when you take the picture, that's going to be a JPEG. Cameras don't take pictures in PNG mode, where it's going to automatically give you this transparent background. Behind this shadow is going to be transparent. So when you're taking the pictures, it's considered that to just be a JPEG, and it's going to be something that's solid. So if you're wanting like to put a different background back here and you want that color to come through, even if the shoe had natural shadows, you're going to end up removing that and then adding a shadow so that you can control the narrative. Now, in here between these slats, like right here in the bottom, it might be a bit of the natural shadow, and then a little bit of Photoshop shadows as well. Okay, so this is how it started. Then we remove the background, and as you can see, when you're removing backgrounds, like that shadow went away, right? So if we were to simply remove the background and it took away our shadow, or there's a way to kind of do it, but with this, you're going to have white here. And so it's not going to look good when you put it on a color, like a different color background. So if we don't put any shadows, this is what we get. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad, right? So by show of hands, I'm trying to figure out, I got to think about how I want to pose these questions, because I'm trying to like not say the question to where I'm kind of telling you the answer I'm looking for. Okay. How many of you before this video, and hopefully after this live video, you won't be doing it that way, but how many of you would take something like this? Let's say if it's your client picture, even a picture of your products, to where, oh, perfect one, a mock-up of a tumbler, right? You would just remove the background and leave it just like this. Does this look good? Like, being very honest. Does this, like, would you look at this and like, okay, yeah, I like that? Would you be on, someone posted this picture, would you be giving it a thumbs up, some hearts, and saying, yes? Oh, you said nope. Okay, well, you might be an actual like designer. If you are, okay, so for this, and the people I'm talking to right now are for beginners. If you are someone who is a seasoned designer, your answers are going to, of course, vary because you know better, right? So aha, it will look like it's floating. Yeah, you're a photographer. So yeah, you guys know. And I kind of figured that from some of your responses compared to some of my students that I normally teach, and they're not familiar with things like this. I try my best not to do much editing. Man, we want to edit. Like, any picture that you see and it catches your eye, there has been some editing to it. I can guarantee it. And sometimes it's a lot of editing. You don't want to edit too much to where it just looks, super, super crazy. Sometimes people Photoshop too much, but every picture that really catches your eye has some type of editing. Whether it's to highlight a certain area, you want it to be darker, or, to lighten certain parts of an image. All right, so let's see what else we have here. Everything is edited. I would do more to it. Okay. So for this, you really don't have to take multiple pics of something like this. So it's just a regular, like if this is the only one that you had, you don't have to take multiples of it if this is the angle and the shot that you want. I mean, you're going to take multiples to get it, but once you have this one, you don't have to have multiple images in your advertisement. You can just have the one shoe. We know that shoes come in a pair, but Nike went, and for this advertisement, they're not showing you both pair of shoes. I'm going to give you one and call it a day, All right. So this looks very flat here, right? I'm also going to go over to, oh, shoot. It's already there. Okay, wait, let's go here. And I just want to remove this. So this is looking at it in Photoshop, right? So we have, oh, wait, I got to move it because there are certain things that are right there. I want to show you this with a drop shadow on it. So it's a very big difference. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to turn this on. So I can also change like the global light with a drop shadow. It really kind of goes around the whole thing, and I'm getting shadows behind the tongue on the back side of it. And that can make it look like it's pushing off the screen. You're bringing it forward. That is one type of shadow. But what we wanted for this one was to make it look like it was like sitting on something, and you really want that shadow on the bottom. Someone says I have no business with the camera. My daughter talks about me a lot. We can change that. We can definitely change that. So I'm going to turn that one back off, and we're going to come back over to Silhouette Studio. So now here is the next one, which I kind of sort of messed up because I wanted you to see the differences. We can kind of see it in the next photos, but bring this one over. And I'm going to try and zoom in so you don't see the other ones, but still see this one. Okay, wait. I'm going to zoom out. Y'all going to see all of the different angles here. And we're going to bring this down, and we're going to bring this over here, and we're going to bring this over here. And well, since we're here, let's just go ahead and duplicate this, send this to the back, and now you're going to see the magic of how this is created. Okay. All right. So there's this is Silhouette Studio. Remember, it doesn't have a blur. I have these things on my website that are called, oh, I didn't pull up my website over here. Okay, that's fine. We're going to do it like this. So I call them fade masks or like fade bars. I'm going to go over here to the essentials. And this really helps in Silhouette Studio and to create these effects because you can't create these in Silhouette Studio. So right here, you get a multitude of colors, and it's basically just a brush stroke that was created. And you can use this in programs like Silhouette to create the same effects that you would just naturally do over in Photoshop if you're not quite ready for Photoshop. So that's what this is. And it's actually two of them so that it can spread out and I can control how much the shadow comes out of the back end. But with this one, if we simply just change the transparency or opacity, the whole, like the entire thing will fade off, right? But when it comes to pictures and shadows, the part that's closer to the shoe and where the light can hit it at, you're going to actually have darker shadows in certain parts and it will lighten out as you go. So if you're a beginner, you would probably end up doing yours somewhat like this and just kind of have the one shadow. And it's, like I said, it's still better than this, right? We can agree that even with the single color shadow, this is still better than this, right? So right now, which one do we prefer? We thought this one was okay, right? But do we prefer A or B? Oops. All right, so write in the comments, A or B? So B, okay, we have a vote for B. B, okay. B, right, okay. But now let's take a look at C. All right, so C and B. C and B. The difference in C is we created different levels of color. So there's actually 3 different ones here. Not sure if you can see right here. It's made up of the exact same shadow. The transparency or opacity is lowered, but by doubling up this one with the transparency with another one, you see as I move it over, it gets darker. So you see that up there and it gets darker. So right here, right where the shoe meets, we want that to have a slightly darker shadow because that's where the light is naturally going to hit it. Like, well, it's going to create those shadows based off of the light and it's like right up under the shoe. So as the shoe tilts up and it's further away from the ground, that shadow is going to kind of spread out a little bit more. So this is made up of, actually, I thought I had 3 here. I think I put 3 on the Photoshop one. Maybe not in Silhouette Studio. So, see, this is there. It's too, that can be too dark, right? Especially for the background. Now, if I were to make this white, we may want it to be a little bit darker to stand out, or on certain, well, on certain colors. So I'm just going to pull this back and you can see the difference. So there, and then we're going to pull this up so that we're creating those different shadows. And then on the back, we have to remember that, well, like looking at it, the toe is coming up. So you're going to see more of it. On the back side, I just created a secondary, like I just took another of my fade bars to put it back there. So this one is separate. And I only did one of this because the bottom of the shoe is basically touching the ground. So I only need a little small one back here. And if it's not quite, fitting how you want it, you can always rotate it to tilt it a little bit more and be able to show more of that shadow. All right. So, oh wait, you guys didn't answer on this one. So what are we thinking now? C or B? C or B? To be honest, from here, without an explanation, I couldn't tell the difference. So who else was like that? Who couldn't tell the difference between B and C? Is there anyone that could not tell the difference between these two? That's thank you for being very honest with that, for you, your natural eye, and that happens for a lot of people. It's small details, right? A lot of people don't really notice the small details. But I guess maybe now that I've pointed that out to you, you can't unsee it, right? See, unfortunately, I wouldn't have noticed any of that. All right, now with them together, can you now you can't unsee it? Do they look different to you now that you've seen it? So she says, I could tell right away. I caught it right away. Awesome. So I couldn't. So you prefer B over C. Is there a reason, if you want to kind of comment, what stands out to you more about B versus C when it comes to how it looks and how it's put together? Now you can see it because you're looking for it. That is the key. Most times your customers may not look for it, but as a designer, you should be looking for those details. This one still kind of looks like it's just floating. Whereas with this one and creating those different layers of shadows, it looks like it's actually flat on a surface. Uh-oh, y'all are tilted. All right, so let's go over to Photoshop. All right, so here is the flat version. We can put a drop shadow, but that makes it pop out towards us. But then if we do just see, I moved it way up there. Hold on, because I moved this around. Let's pull you down here. And this is made up of just a brush stroke. And you can probably see it better here that you don't get you don't get a transition of color. So it's all dark. And if you take down the opacity, all you're doing is just basically removing the whole thing away. If I take it up, the entire thing is adjusting. Oh man. Okay, no, that's not the one I wanted. This is the one that I wanted. So now with this one, within this group, you guys can't see it over there. Okay, so you'll look here. There's actually 3 different ones. I know most people think like when someone is designing something like, oh, it's just this one magic button. We click it and it gives us exactly what we want. In any design software, whether it is Silhouette Studio, Photoshop, Affinity Photo, Illustrator, Affinity Designer, Corel Draw, Flexi, even Canva, you have sometimes it's going to be things that you have to stack. A lot of times with strokes and things like that and creating those different effects, and you have to know which stroke to create and then add a shadow. It's a lot. It can be a lot to it. There is nothing where it's okay, let's just pull this in and it's just going to be perfect, which is why when we first start, it is good to learn from templates that are already set up and you just go in there and change it. But just make sure that when you're using templates, you're not using them just for the ease of designing, take the opportunity to save it and maybe put on the, like when you go save as, and then put like the breakdown at the end of it. So what you're gonna go do with that template that you get is take everything apart, move things around, see how many layers it is just for like one element, and to create all of these visual effects to it. So if you have any templates, especially Photoshop ones, go file, save as, save it, put like the breakdown at the end, and then just deconstruct it. Someone says, I wish what? Oh, that there was one button and it'll do it all. Yeah, we all do, because it can be a lot. All right. So there's that one. And to be honest, I forgot what this one was. Oh, it was me making it shorter. Because I wanted to show you that you, like, when you're taking those pictures, right? Which is going to be one of the assignments, looking at how far out that shadow goes. That makes a big, big difference. So this is an example of a shorter shadow, which isn't really natural. That it's like the shadow is underneath the toe of the toe of the shoe, and you just shrink both of them, like all three layers were shrunken together. Now I don't have a shadow back here, like the shadow is only in the middle. That's not natural. So if you go, let's say you just watch a video, right, and it wasn't necessarily about a shoe, you can watch a video and someone's going to tell you how to create shadows, and it's going to be 3 layers, different opacities, and you're going to go and do it, and you might have it be to where like the natural, like it's going to, technically this really feathers out probably to the tip of the toe. And if you do that, you're like, man, it's still not coming out right. This is where my foundations of designing comes into play. It's not just teaching you about tools or teaching you how to use Photoshop. It's concepts like this that are taught in, major graphic designing programs, or if you go to school for it. Like, these are the things that you're learning like in the first semester before you even get to like real on designing. You're really getting the fundamentals. And I know everyone, may not be able to go to a traditional educational institution for it, but I'm trying my best to create programs that are going to help you guys on the level that you are at. And again, that's what the Foundation of Designing program is for. It's going to be a multi-week program, and you're going to learn things like layout, composition, font pairing, and things like that. Okay. So now over here on Photoshop, do we prefer A or B? A, which is this one, the shorter shadow, or B? She says, oh, yes. Oh my gosh. That is great marketing right there. Nike should hire me. She says, I'm not even a fan of Nike Dunks, but now I want these, right? Like, I'm telling y'all, even with your products, this is what you want your customers to like feel. Even if they think they don't want it, how people are with their sublimation paper. It's like, okay, I have one I like. I don't, I like this. I'm not going to say they don't like other brands, but hey, I like this one. But when I show it and I'm showing it in an amazing light, it's like, man, hold up now. Something might be wrong with my colors. I might need to try that HS Ink sublimation paper. But this is what you want to do with advertising. When you're creating when you're creating mock-ups of your Tumblr, you want someone to have that reaction. I don't even like this, but baby, I want it. That is the goal. That is the goal. All right. So we have that one, and then over. I didn't do. This is the other one, right? So I was supposed to post pictures when I took of what's those things called, my jackets. So how like when the light hits or when your shadow and it like drops down, right? but it still looks like you. Right now, this is nothing more than a shadow just to kind of give you the illusion that it is sitting on top of something. But when you're talking about true shadows and when you're looking at your body, right? And well, you're walking and you see your shadow, it has like, blurred edges, but it is the shape. Well, we can't really do that with just this. So we can kind of create it. I can go in and if I really wanted to take that one, I'm going to go Control T. Let's bring that up. Let's go over here to skew. Let's bring this to the side. So, I mean, we can do it like this, right? So now you're getting that shadow where it's behind it. I mean, this can kind of sort of be like the shape of this, but most like a beginner would end up just taking a shadow and they're going to do, either skew or do like the perspective, and this is what they're going to do. But like if you have someone's body and you want it to be in the shape, that is a totally different, which I'm not going to get too deep into, but that starts with you having just a solid version of which there's a ways to like select it so that you can paint it in. You'll have that, and then you're going to add blurs to it, and then you're going to change the perspective. So our Photoshop Essentials will teach you how to create silhouettes of your subject and how to add different blurs to it. Now that one is one where there's one like, you do your Gaussian blur, but there's also blur filters and there's different ones. And we're going to play around with those more so in the foundation of like designing one, and well, a little bit in the essentials of Photoshop. But it kind of starts with this and then it turns into, wait, which one is the wrong one? Hold on. So I didn't do a lot of like editing for it, but when you're gonna lay it down, I decided to add this little piece to it right before I went live. So I haven't finished editing it, but stretching it out to where you're going to see the shape of the shoe, and then you're going to change your perspective, because right now it does look like it's going up versus it coming down, how a shadow would naturally be, but it's not made up of just a brush stroke like that. So this is what we want, but we also want it to be the shape of it. So I did this one like literally right before I went live, because I was like, oh, they need to know that too for having like this shape to it when you're doing that type of shadow. All right. So there's that one. And then over here, I was just showing like just changing the angles of stuff out. This was just me playing around with like different angles as if it was on a slope. So we have this one. And the one thing I wanted to show was we can't go and get too skew and perspective happy, because now I've changed the shape of the shoe on this one because of how I adjusted it. We want it to look like it's tilted, but we don't want it to look like we've elongated it either. So there's a difference in how this one is and then how these are with either rotating or doing your skew or doing your perspective in Photoshop. But you have to understand all of those different tools. So hopefully this live broadcast has helped you understand graphic designing a little bit, especially when it comes to shadows. Now, there's so much more to it because your shadows will change, like I said, when it comes to your global light and how shadows should be on there. It can be a lot. You're not going to learn all this stuff overnight. That is one thing that I want you guys to be very honest with yourself about, is your designs will get better over time. Don't beat yourself up if you did not know these things. Don't beat yourself up if you're not at this level yet, because for most of us, it's taken us years. You guys are seeing like myself and anyone else as a content creator or as an instructor kind of just let this come off the tongue, right? Like it just comes off the dome. But this is not something that I just learned yesterday. Like I said, for me, not only do I love designing, I'm also a photo enthusiast. So I like to just shoot photos, even just for myself. People ask me all the time, well, can you come and shoot my event? I've done it like for family, but that's not, I like to just take pictures for myself. One, it helps me understand it because I'm always a student. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to just educate myself and just up my design. And then I know that even when you're designing, there are real life scenarios that affect your design. And knowing things like this helps me to unlock my creativity and create better designs. So, yes, we have a class for Photoshop. So, we have our essentials first. It is an 8-week program. We're going to go through a lot of different concepts and things for Photoshop. Okay. All right. Oh Lord, my kid's having a seizure at school. So give me all right, but my husband's going. So oh Lord, it made my heart hurt. My chest is pounding fast now. So we have the Photoshop Essentials, which starts on, I can't even think straight now. Why did he come tell me that? It starts on the 8th. And it's 8 weeks, and we're going to go through a lot of different things for Photoshop. This is just learning the essentials of Photoshop, and then the design one is the one where you're going to really learn how to apply them. So we're going to go through program layout, how to set up your files, text warp, text styles, selection tool, pen tool, color adjustments, selecting my color, brush, clone, blur tools, blend modes. So we're going to go through a lot of those, and then we're going to have 2 days of designing. Okay. And that is the essentials of Photoshop. And then we also have the foundation of designing. This is also a multi-week, and we're going to go a little bit between Photoshop and Silhouette, especially for those who kind of master Silhouette Studio and want to easily, like, it'll be a smoother transition into Photoshop from Silhouette Studio to, like, a more robust design software. So we have both of those on the website, shop.hsink365.com. All right. So definitely go and check that out. All right, y'all. Until next time, have a great one. Continue to unlock your creativity and be ink credible. Peace.